morning everyone. So in this video, we will talk about the generation of action potentials along the membrane of axon. But first, what is action potential? Action potential is an electrical signal that propagates along the membrane of a neuron or the excitable cell as a non-graded depolarization. So to put it simply, it is the rapid change in membrane potential that occurs when neuron is stimulated. There are 5 stages of action potential: the resting state, depolarization, rising phase of the action potential, falling phase of the action potential, and finally the undershoot, which is hyperpolarization. As you can see in this graph, it represents every stages of the action potential, and you can see the level threshold here. What is a threshold? Threshold is a level which a membrane potential must be depolarized to initiate an action potential. And in most neurons, it is about -55 millivolt, and action potential will only start when threshold is reached. In the resting state. During the resting state, the axon membrane is polarized. By polarized, it means the inside of the axon is negatively charged, while the outside of the axon is positively charged. Voltage-gated sodium channel and voltage-gated potassium channel are closed because the threshold isn't reached yet. But the sodium-potassium pump and the sodium and potassium channel maintain resting potential. The resting potential is about -70 millivolt, and because the outside of the cell, the concentration of the sodium is higher than the inside. Now, sodium will diffuse into the axon down the concentration gradient through the natrium channel. And at the same time, potassium will diffuse out of the axon because in the inside the potassium concentration is higher than the outside concentration of potassium. And 3 sodium is actively transported out of axon, and 2 potassium will be actively transported into axon by sodium-potassium pump. The resting potential is re-established by sodium pump and passive ion channels, which is the sodium and potassium channels. It is so they could maintain the resting potential. Resting potential is re-established by the sodium-potassium pump and the passive ion channels, which is the sodium and potassium channel. And you can use this abbreviation to help you remember that I inside the cell is negatively charged, and K to help you remember that the concentration of potassium inside of the cell is higher.
Okay, so for the next one is depolarization. But before we get into it, let's look at the meaning of polarized and depolarization. Basically, polarized means membrane has opposite charge on each side, negative on the inside and positive on the outside. Meanwhile, depolarization means loss of membrane polarity due to an A+ influx. Alright, so depolarization. It happens when the presence of stimulus opens some voltage-gated channel. Basically, stimulus it's like touch, heat, and signal from another neuron. Then, if the voltage-gated channel open, the Na plus will diffuse into the axon. So the membrane potential becomes slightly depolarized. But the voltage-gated K plus channel remain closed. So when depolarization reach a threshold level, an action potential is generated. But if you guys still don't understand what is threshold level, I have an analogy for it. It's like flushing a toilet. When we push the toilet lightly, there's nothing happen. But when we push it with enough force, there will be a full flush. So threshold is equals to force needed to flush. So small stimulus means no signal, but threshold stimulus means full nerve impulse. That's it. Then the threshold is about negative 55 MV in many neurons. And for the next one is rising phase of action potential, depolarization. When the voltage change, trigger more voltage-gated Na plus to open. So more Na plus will diffuse into the axon, causing the membrane to depolarize further. Then the membrane potential inside the axon or exoplasm will become more positive. So the action potential is generated.
So when the membrane potential reach positive 35 millivolt, the voltage-gated Na plus channel will be closed, and most of voltage-gated K plus channels will be open. This will causes the K plus will diffuse out of the axon. So inside of the membrane will be more negative, and outside of the membrane will be more positive, and repolarization will be occur. Here from this graph, at stage 5, the membrane potential drop from the below the resting potential. This is because the voltage gated K plus channels will be closed slowly. So there's still a voltage gated K plus that open. Some of the voltage gated K plus channels will open. The excess K plus will diffuse out the axon. So here will be more negative and here will be more positive. This will happen hyperpolarization. Resting potential will be established by Na-K pump and facilitate diffusion of ungated ion channels. So here akan kembali ke resting potential.